Hello everybody and welcome to this series of podcasts by Vajiram and Ravi. This is Pooja Singh. The discussion today will be for the students who are writing Mains 2024 and have economics as their optional subject. And for this discussion, we have our esteemed faculty member, Shyam Sunder sir, with us today. Sir, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Sir, my first question to you would be, that is very anxious, I would say, for those who are not able to complete their optional syllabus till now, what is the plan for them?
Okay. Again, I would tell the plans separately for paper 1 and paper 2 because their approach is separate. Economics is highly analytical, graphical, and somewhat mathematical subject. Okay. So ideally, the thing should be that you should have prepared in all this context, but by chance you are short of time, you have not been able to do enough. When you are doing paper 1 preparation, then focus mainly on the graphical interpretations. Okay. Because in most of the questions, graphs are needed. In microeconomics questions, also in macroeconomics or trade related questions. What we have seen is, even if someone has done good preparation and by chance time is not enough to write some answer in the end, from our experience we have seen that even if they draw a graph and label it properly, that gives a message to the examiner that the student has understood the question, is answering well, even if words are not being written in the desired format. So for paper 1, focus mainly on graphs. That would be my advice related to most of them. As far as the topics to be left is concerned, since you have not well prepared, it is becoming very difficult to leave any topic in paper 1. Ideally, no topic should be left. Okay. But still, if you are extremely short of time, then in paper 1, I would advise focus more on international economics and growth and development. Since these are applied part of micro and macroeconomics, generally, questions are more on the later part of the syllabus, growth, development, and international economics. That doesn't mean they will not ask on micro and macro. But micro by nature is comprehensive. So when you are short of time, in micro, you can just focus on, let's say, market theories, where most of the questions come, and welfare theories, from where again a few questions come. In macroeconomics, you can focus on the different schools of macro and their comparison, as brief as possible, and focus more on trade, growth and development. As far as paper 2 is concerned, in paper 2 again, it's very difficult to clearly say that what you can leave and not. My advice would be, do your economic history part very well, because that is brief. It takes less time to revise the economic history because there are a few compulsory questions coming from there. You can take the post-independence pre-91 part slightly less seriously because that is comprehensive. Questions are coming, but that is slightly more comprehensive. But then focus more on post-91. Because more or less 50% of the paper 2 is from post-91. So if you have very limited time, I would say post-91 and pre-independence should be focused more. In any case, if you have a fair idea, you can reasonably argue about the time period in between that also. So
this was about students who have not completed the syllabus yet. They are still left with it. So for the students who have completed their classes, have completed their syllabus, what is the plan for revision for them in this few 70 days?
Okay. So few things will be similar. So even if you have done your coverage very well, you should be having the graphs at your tips. Okay. There is a joke that I put in economics that if someone just awakes you somewhere in midnight and tells you that you have to draw a graph for this market form, you should be able to do that. It is that level of preparation which I require from my students, that you should be able, because the time limit is actually very strict in the mains exam. So don't worry. Those who have economics classes in this institute, my advice will be just revise your class notes. Okay. I know even these class notes will be very comprehensive, so it takes time. But then this is the minimum that you need to do. And more or less the idea would be very similar. Those who have done their syllabus better, they must have done their each and every detail of microeconomics. But now is the time when you should focus on what is being asked more. Like within microeconomics, focus more on markets. Even if they can give some question on, say, consumer theory or producer theory, that you can keep on sidelines a little, because if you have done it earlier, you can handle a surprising question. The main problem comes when they are asked in a compulsory question. So if you have prepared well, you can handle a compulsory question which is basic. Focus more on market forms, the same thing. And again, with more focus on international economics and the growth and development. Paper 2, ideally, if you have done it well, it shouldn't be much time taking to revise, be it pre-independence, post-independence. Just go through my class notes also if you were a student here, and I would have taken that in a good way. Focus more on tables in paper 2. I have given a number of tables on the trends in GDP growth, trends in employment, share of different sectors in employment. These things are easily forgotten over a period of time. So revision is very, very important there. And questions are directly coming from there. We have questions like talk about trends of GDP growth since independence or after 91. So those figures you should focus a lot upon. Get some tricks on how to remember it. Figures are very important in paper 2. Many examples can be given. For example, in fiscal finance commission related part of fiscal policy, the devolution formula is there. There you have to remember the numbers. So focus more on numbers, because you have already done your preparation well. If numbers are in your mind, you can fit those in order to make the quality of your answer better.
Truly, sir. So when we talk about PYQs, how important are they according to you? And if they are, how should we practice them?
Okay. I always consider PYQs very important, be it optional, be it GS as such, because that is the final litmus test of your preparation. Okay. If no matter how many hours you have devoted, from whom you have studied, if you cannot answer PYQs, it's of no use. So PYQs are important in a number of ways. One is that they are telling you that which areas are more important, like from which topic more questions have come in past and so on. In optional, generally the trends are not changed very significantly. In GS, that problem is more. The trends are often changed more often. But in the optional part, I have generally seen that if they're asking, let's say, 3 compulsory questions from economic history, they're asking every year. Fine, I'm not telling they can never change, but there will not be a massive change out there. So that will give you an idea that which area should be given how much of priority, how much time should be devoted to them. So that's one rule. Secondly, PYQ keeps on telling you that even if you have read something in the class, how a different wording may confuse you. So when you are looking into those PYQs, then you get more comfortable in handling a new question, because when you are appearing, the wording may be completely new. So that would be helpful there. And also in your answer practice, when you are actually practicing the actual previous year question, that will give you more confidence to write the answer rather than the questions which are in general being given by different mentors. Although in our test series, we ensure that most of the questions are strictly in line with what is being asked in the exam. But still, no one can forecast these days, not even I can. So we try to do the same test series as they are asking, but then always be ready for a surprise. So when you are appearing PYQ, I would also advise you that sometimes randomly take up a PYQ, surprise yourself. Okay, before UPSC surprises you, so that that surprise will be less than the one which you would have expected. Okay.
Truly, sir. So when we talk about, let's say, good answers, what are good answers in economics optional? And there's a debate over paragraphs and bullet points. What, according to you, is a more beneficial way of writing?
Okay. I strongly feel that most of the answers should be given in paragraphs. As in, again, in economics optional, this statement is applicable to paper 2. Because in paper 2, you have to write a descriptive answer. So I strongly feel that to the extent possible, you should write in paragraphs unless the question is drafted in such a way that you have to. So for example, some questions are on differences between this and this, like difference between new and old trade theories. Okay, suppose you get. So there you can put bullet points, that would be more easy, one-on-one comparison. But other than that, in most questions, paragraphs should be there. Towards the end of your exam, when you are getting extremely short of time, then you can use bullet points. Then you can use some flowcharts, etc. That's about paper 2, I'm telling. In paper 1, generally these questions are not very relevant, because most of the questions in paper 1 we have seen are application based. They ask, okay, what will happen if this changes or that changes? So there you have to just write down and support that answer with the graph. So that is what makes economics optional a little easier also, because generally in paper 1, even word limits are not given. Okay, the understanding is that I'm asking something, you have to answer it and come out of it. The word limit even doesn't matter out there. So I would say graphs are most important. If you are having very, very less time, draw the graph, explain it briefly. Ideally, you should write a few sentences, and then if you can't, leave it. Okay, one more thing since I remember quickly.
Sure.
Do not write 2 bullet point answers initially. Because when an examiner is correcting your answer sheet, the first few questions is creating your image in the mind of examiner. So if you start putting bullet points and flowcharts in the very first question, that may give an impression that you are kind of too much in a hurry and you are not very, very serious about handling the question. So better that if you do these things, make it for the later answers, so that as a sensible examiner, he would understand that maybe the student was short of time and that is why he or she had to write it that way.
So when we talk about paper 1 and paper 2, paper 1 is more technical, if we say, and paper 2 is a little bit theoretical as we compare to paper 1. So what should be approach for paper 1, and how much time do you think should be divided to both of the papers while preparing? And what should be the approach for paper 1?
I strongly feel that paper 1 is more time taking. Yeah. Even in my classes, I devote more time to that, for the simple reason that it's analytical. For any person, it is time taking. But then the good thing is that if you understand, then you understand. Okay, then you don't have to improvise again and again. Paper 2 is that way easier, but then the problem is that there more innovative questions can come. Although thankfully in economics optional, the trend says that in paper 2 also, there are some areas where generally questions are being repeated. For example, if you have done economic history, one can guarantee that you will get a question on either deindustrialization or commercialization or drain of wealth. More or less, it's a guarantee. Yes, what exactly will be the question is slightly difficult to predict, but the broader areas are roughly clear. There you have to improvise more in terms of your writing skills. Okay, so make sure that you read the question very carefully, because even if the topic may be the same on which last year they asked a question, the exact requirement of the answer may be different. So read the question very carefully. That applies to paper 1 also. And somewhere in the first paragraph of your answer, the examiner should understand that you have read the question. Whatever words are being used in the question should be somewhere reflected in your introduction. That gives an impression that you have not just read the area from where question have come and started writing. Okay, so that should definitely be done. And similarly, if time allows, even in the conclusion, you should be at least writing a sentence or 2 on that. So that is how you can take up. But yes, time will be devoted more to paper 1, in my knowledge, than the paper 2. In any case, paper 2 gets automatically prepared with your GS part of economics. So that way you are saving time also. That's also the point.
So one more thing, sir. Do you think at this point of time there's any benefit of touching a new book or new resources?
No, I don't think so. So at this point, at least in economics optional, new books, etc., should not be read. Unless there is an area where every year question is coming, but then that is also too unpredictable.
True.
That every year they will ask something from there. It's better to sit back calmly, revise what you have done, okay, and just highlight a few things more rather than doing completely new book. So no, I won't advise that.
True, sir. So when we talk about these technical areas also, like let's say WTO or environmental economics, so they are not such topics that we will find in basic books, right?
Correct.
So how to cover them?
WTO environmental economics can be covered in a similar manner as we do it in GS. Okay. For environmental economics, one can follow the COP meeting details, etc. So whenever the COP meetings take place, there are many editorials in the newspapers. They are reasonably good for optional also. So actually the environmental economics part is quite overlapping with GS. Sometimes we have seen in the same year a question both in GS and economics optional more or less on the same thing. Like the basic conclusions of COP 26 or 27. We have seen questions like that. As far as WTO is concerned, WTO website is very helpful.
Okay.
WTO has a very friendly website, and to help the newcomers, as in those who don't have a background in economics, WTO website also gives the summary of their agreements, etc. That will be a lot helpful. I take WTO in the GS classes, so by chance someone is in GS classes, they may also access to the PPT and PDF that I had provided on WTO. That is reasonably enough. And make sure that you also combine the current affairs, like the latest ministerial of WTO or latest COP meeting. At least 5-6 major points of that should be with you. That will be helpful both in GS and optional. Yes, I agree, there is no one textbook where you can read it from. True. These things are by nature dynamic, and there is no other option, you have to do it.
So talking about the important documents that need to be quoted in the examination, economic survey and say budget are very important, right? Say be it GS also, but I will ask about only the optional perspective. How important and actually how should we cover the economic survey and budget?
Okay. Both economic survey and budget are very important document, but having said that, in examination it should be used selectively. Okay. And when I'm telling that, I'm thinking of GS also, apart from the optional. Many students make one common mistake that after the budget and economic survey comes, they leave each and everything and devote all their time to reading them. And finally, end of the day, when they appear for exam, they find that one or the other subject preparation was not enough. Okay, they had to leave some history questions or geography questions or polity question, which according to me is a very bad approach. Okay, so survey, budget are important, but ideally should be done in the summary form. Generally, this institute provides the summary of the budget and survey. I think that is reasonably enough for both GS as well as economics optional. Yes, in economics optional, little bit of extra work has to be done. And that is that when you are looking into the entire syllabus, like when you are doing the post-91 Indian economy, and suppose you have prepared for agriculture, that what are the basic trends in agriculture, then ideally you should go to economic survey, take the chapter on agriculture from there and update it there in the class notes. When I take the class, till that time, whatever survey has come, I update it in the class only. But then obviously the surveys which come later, their students will have to do their work. So that is how you should read survey. Ideally, even for GS, it's like we have done agriculture as a topic, update from agriculture chapter of survey. We have done industries, update from the industries chapter on economic survey. This is the best way. Economic survey as well as budget have too much of data points. Do not memorize each and everything. Generally, questions are not asked directly. Yes, if you remember a few important data points, you can quote them in your mains exam. And this again applies for both GS answers and the optional answers. I think more for GS because in fact, some people also say that isn't economics optional very dynamic because Indian economy is there. I have expressed my views on that earlier also, and I'll tell that again. The kind of questions asked in paper 2 of economics optional is less dynamic than the economics questions of GS. Okay, if someone doesn't believe me, they can look PYQs themselves. Okay, I leave it open to anyone. You will see that in GS paper 3, they are asking more related to current affairs than in paper 2 of economics optional. Okay, in fact, whatever the current affairs one has done while preparing for GS, that is more than enough for optional also. In optional, basically, you are tested for your analytical skills. How do you look at any issue in an analytical manner rather than flooding your answer with numbers and current affairs? Okay, so that should be the approach. That look at the chapter of a survey, link it with your syllabus, leave the numbers. Too much of numbers should be avoided. Some of the selected ones can be noted down. And then if there is a requirement in the exam to quote those numbers, then quote them. Okay, that I think is the best way to prepare. Similarly, tables on employment, etc. are given in economic survey. They are very helpful in optional, particularly, because questions on trends in employment, etc. are common in optional. Sometimes they can ask in GS also, but more in optional. You can use the tables given in economic survey on while answering these questions. So you have to be selective. All in all, do not read each and every page of the economic survey in great detail. That is practically also not possible. And since you have to do many other things, therefore you should be careful. So current affairs is important, but everything is not current affairs in this exam. That should be kept in mind.
So how frequent should be answer writing? What do you think the answer writing should be? Number of times one should give the test series or attempt the tests in between this 2 months or let's say 70 days.
Okay. Answer writing is very important undoubtedly because unless you are writing an answer in a specific format in the specific time, you do not get the feel of the actual examination.
True.
But at the same time, answer writing should not come at sacrifice of revising your syllabus. So there is no formula for that, frankly speaking, that because every student is different. Some students are very good at doing the traditional part of syllabus, bad at answer writing. Some are good at answer writing, bad at the traditional part of the syllabus. So there cannot be one formula for all of them, but yet both of them should be given due weightage. It shouldn't be left at any point of time. I feel that you should write few answers, but write it in a highly disciplined manner. Okay. My idea is that you should pick up a question. So when you are appearing for test series, obviously the question will be new for you. Do not write test series for more than 2 institutes, I would say. Even if you are doing it for 1 institute, it's reasonably enough if it is good set of questions. So I can assure you that if you join the test series in Vajiram and Ravi, more or less every area of both paper 1 and paper 2 should be taken care of. And I know these days there are many students who write it at home, not in the strict environment of the classroom. Even if you are writing it back at your home, be very, very disciplined, because there is no point deceiving yourself. Okay, end of the day you have to sit in examination hall and write it down. Be very, very particular about the time limit. So what many students do, they keep on writing whatever they want, since at home they have a lot of time. Then even if you write 10 test series, it doesn't matter. Okay, the basic purpose was defeated. So basic purpose of test series is one, you should be able to handle questions from multiple subjects in the 3 hours time period. Okay, like right now you are writing an answer on micro, immediately after macro, then immediately after growth development. This art of switching between the topic has to be learned. And this is what test series help you in. Okay, because it's actually very difficult. It's easy to tell that as such, but it's actually very difficult to switch your kind of mind from one area to the other. So that is what you learn in the test series. Still, you should strictly follow the time limit. Even if you are able to write half the answer in one test because you were not having enough time, be it. Okay, that would be a learning for you that next time, somewhere else you should devote less time. Okay, so these are the learnings that should come. I feel that you should join one test series minimum, maximum two. And more important than number would be that you should strictly stick to the time limit of that test series. That is what I would like to say.
Definitely, sir. I hope the importance of test series are clear to you, and I would suggest that you join our test series not just because you'll be practicing it, but also because self-evaluation will be actually giving you a bias of your performance. So save yourself from that and lose that ego. Join the test series. Don't lose this chance of writing this mains with all the ammunition you'll need for this war. Sir, any few words for actually advice for the students who are going to write mains 2024 with economics as their optional?
Okay, if you talk about general advices, I would say there is nothing much new that I would like to tell here, because the optional papers are typically more static. So there is no point innovating too much. Okay. Some questions require innovation, then use your innovation, but don't unnecessarily try to kind of show yourself as a very unique student. So stick to the basics. That would be my general advice. At least in the last 2-3 years, I'm finding that the paper 1 is very, very basic. Okay, somewhere around 4-5 years ago, there were some difficult questions, but in last 2 to 3 years, they are very basic. Even if a student has properly revised all their class notes, they will be able to do that. Make sure that your compulsory questions are attempted first, because in any case, they are by nature compulsory. You can't leave that. When you are appearing for the optional ones, have a look at all the questions once. So what many students do, suppose in a question which you may attempt or leave, there are 3 parts. Generally, there are 3 parts of the questions. And the first one is very lucrative to you, that you have read very well. And you, in that kind of, in that momentum, you have started writing the answer, and then realize that the other 2 questions are not very well prepared by you. That is a bad strategy. So spend some time reading the questions carefully. I know that will mean less time to write, but then there is no point writing and then realizing that you should have done something differently. Okay, one more thing which I recall I should tell you. In paper 1, try to draw graphs in pencil. Because in that case, you still have an option of making a correction if there is a mistake. Otherwise, if you draw it in pen, then you will neither have time nor you will have enough space to draw it again. This may not be applicable to those who have a long background in economics, who have full confidence in drawing the graph. They can go ahead, draw it in pen also. There is no hard and fast rule. But those who are taking optional and don't have a very long background, it should ideally be drawn in pencil, yet it should be clear cut. Okay, that is the idea. So keep these things in mind as far as the paper 1. Even in paper 2, some of the things are similar. Like read all the questions carefully first and be clear that which area is more comfortable to you. Do a kind of a cost benefit analysis. Sometimes it is possible that a 20 marks question you have prepared much better and 15 marks is not so well, or vice versa. So in that case, try to attempt that question where you are better in writing a 20 marks answer. Then one more thing is there. Some of the questions by nature are very descriptive. Okay. So for example, in say international economics, there is a question, explain the role of international macroeconomic policy coordination. Okay, now this is too open-ended question. No matter how good a answer you write, it is likely that your marks will be average. Versus another question on international economics that, let's say, talk about Heckscher-Ohlin theory of international trade. Their chances of getting marks is much better. So that you have to identify that which question will be more marks fetching by nature. Same applies for numerical. If you are comfortable in mathematics, I would strongly advise to appear to go for numerical. At the same time, if you are nervous, I will not, because then it can backfire. It is, if you are not good at mathematics and you, for ego issue, go for solving a numerical and then find yourself caught somewhere, then it's like you have wasted a lot of time, which will impact your other answers also. So that is the strategy that you can follow in paper 1 mainly. Paper 2 doesn't have much strategy, I would say, except identifying the area where you are more comfortable. So those people who are more comfortable in post-91 Indian economy should attempt the second half of the question more, which is, say, question number 5, 6, 7, 8, and focus less on the earlier one where they are asking more questions on the post-independence and pre-91 Indian economy. So that is what you will have to decide on yourself depending upon your area of comfort. So this is what I would like to advise.
I'm sensing that this session is going to be one-stop solution for strategy for mains when one is choosing economics as an optional, right, sir? I hope we were able to answer all of your puzzling questions for mains 2024 when economics is your optional subject. We will be back with such sessions again and again. Until then, you have to do just one thing, that is keep studying. So thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
All the very best for your mains.